What is up, YouTube? This is Rob from RP Model Railroads, and in this video I want to give you all an update on my various small train layouts and talk about any progress that I've made in the past few months. And then I want to talk about some of my latest projects, including a brand new layout project that I'm currently working on. So stay tuned. Up first is my 5' by 8' retro Tyco layout, or the Tycoon Museum as some of my friends like to call it. I haven't really added anything new to Retro Tyco in a while because mainly I'm trying to focus on only collecting the rarest Tyco items that I can find to add to my collection rather than trying to find absolutely everything that Tyco produced, because I know that I simply will not have the time or the space to store everything that Tyco created. So Retro Tyco is basically in what I like to call the forever 98% complete zone. I may add things to it over time, but as of right now, since I haven't really used the layout, I decided to cover it with a plastic tarp just to try to keep as much dust off the layout as possible. The only major addition to the layout, or really under the layout, that's happened this year have been the creation of 12 more drawers, making 16 total wooden drawers that were custom made to fit underneath Retro Tyco to store my entire Tyco collection, with at least 3 drawers available for additional storage. But aside from that, nothing new has really been added to the layout. Then there's my N-scale 2' by 3' Alpine Railway, or my German fictitious layout. I haven't really changed anything on the layout in a while, except for ballasting the train track and adding green static grass, which I did earlier this year, both of which were some pretty large accomplishments on the layout. Aside from that, it's always fun to crank up the power and run N-scale German trains every once in a while, taking a break from my Ephrata Valley Railroad and Tyco trains that I run pretty much all the time. I produce videos for the Alpine Railway every now and then, but mainly I look at it as a fun escape, if you will, from HO scale classic model train collecting. I still plan on changing things on the layout in the future, so it's not complete, but as of right now, I'm satisfied with how the Alpine Railway looks and how it operates. And while we're on the subject of N-scale model trains, I'm sure many of you have realized I haven't uploaded any update videos on my N-scale Santa Fe Paradise layout in a while. And that's because a few months ago, I actually sold the layout on eBay to another model railroader who plans on making the layout into his own, adding a town scene, and even DCCing the layout, which I thought was pretty incredible. I was glad to see the layout go to a good home, and even though I did put quite a bit of work into the layout and turned it into somewhat of a YouTube project, it still was a long way off from what I originally envisioned it to be, and frankly was just another project hanging around that I just was not devoting enough time to. So I was glad to see it go to a good home. And then there's my 4' by 4' old school model railway, otherwise known as the Ephrata Valley Railroad. I haven't really made any major changes to the layout in a while, which is why I haven't done any update videos, but I have been working on various locomotive and train car repaints with my good friend Aaron Anderson, which is why I'm sure you've seen the few unboxing videos recently of his incredible work. And really, the Ephrata Valley Railroad fictitious short line idea with custom locomotives and train cars has turned into something far beyond what I ever dreamed it to become, and it's just totally awesome. Which has led me to realize that, unfortunately, my 4' by 4' layout has gotten rather cramped for the many Ephrata Valley Railroad diesel locomotives and steam locomotives that have been created over the course of this past year. Which leads me to my latest layout project. And now, without further ado, may I present my Ephrata Valley Railroad 4x8 layout project. I actually picked up an incomplete 4x8 layout along with a few boxes of HO train stuff for free last year, and held onto it unsure of what exactly to do with it. That is, until a few weeks ago when I decided to revamp the layout by making a frame, or benchwork if you will, out of 2x4s, and then I reused the original bowed 4x8 sheet of plywood, attaching it to the 2x4 frame I had made, along with banquet table legs. They reused the original caster wheels. With some hard work and a little bit of money invested in new table legs and one new caster wheel, the wood was already owned, I had a clean slate, non-bowed 4x8 table on which to build a new layout. Before laying track, however, I cut and glued a thin green carpet to the tabletop, and it was then that I decided to turn this layout into a 4x8 Ephrata Valley Railroad layout, with an engine yard complete with locomotive maintenance facilities, and 2 separate tracks, and yes, still set in autumn. I still may tweak the track work, but as for now, I'm quite satisfied and ready to move on to the wiring process. I've already built a Pola 2-door engine shed for the layout and added an already built Tyco coaling station and custom Tyco sanding station to the engine yard for right now. I do not plan to replace or tear down the original 4x4 Ephrata Valley Railroad simply because there are too many memories and countless photos and videos invested into it, but rather use this new 4x8 layout to expand the Ephrata Valley Railroad universe, so to speak, which will enable me to run larger, old HO model trains with ease and film more interesting HO scale lash-ups and longer trains for my YouTube channel. I'll also be able to take more interesting scene photos of Ephrata Valley Railroad locomotives for my Instagram, and of course, hopefully have more realistic and fun operating sessions with my growing roster of custom Ephrata Valley Railroad old school DC locomotives and rolling stock. I'm very excited to share this layout project with you all and look forward to making layout update videos over time, showcasing progress.